Dr. Jerome Corsi, best-selling author, joins us. We're going to have him back up for a full hour soon on his new book that's already becoming a bestseller, Who Really Killed Kennedy. A very powerful book. I've already read half of it, just got it last week. Doc, you heard me go over those points, and then I realized, other than us and InfoWars, you at WorldNet Daily and others, I know, have been the ones breaking this, and as fantastical as it appears, is it as bad as it looks to me, sir?
I think you're correct, Alex. I think you're right on. I mean, let's just dissect a little bit of this Kenya violence. First of all, you got to understand that the Somalis, remember, the Somalis are the warlord, kind of unlawful, unruled country that we invaded when the Black Hawk down during the Clinton. That's Somalia. Somalia has been having Muslim terrorists pour into Kenya since Obama took office. I mean, I reported going back into 2007 when Obama was running for office. You remember that Odinga, who is the tribal clansman, and of course we've got tribal relations in Kenya that are very important. The tribal kinsman, Odinga, signed an agreement with the Muslims in Kenya, the National Muslim Leaders Forum, NAMLEF, in 2007, that if Odinga, who was then running for president, were supported by the Muslims, when Odinga got in, he would do everything he could, including revising the Constitution, to favor Islam.
And Obama advised him, as your book broke down with the emails, on how to stage riots so they'd give him a prime ministership instead of the presidency when he lost. So bottom line, I should have quantified this. This is basically Obama behind jihadis connected to this attack. This is unbelievable.
And it was Obama's plan that when Odinga lost the presidential election at the end of 2007, these riots, which were against the majority tribe and the Kikuyu in Kenya, which Odinga, on behalf of the Luo, which is Obama's tribe, were raising. This was also one of fueling the open avenue for jihadists to pour into Kenya, because Odinga was the Islam-supported candidate in that election. And if you recall, remember they burned Christians in churches, the Luo did, and they, on behalf of Odinga.
So they're using Al-Qaeda worldwide as the proxy war to take over all these countries in North Africa and now into Kenya, as you predicted 6 years ago, as Dr. Tarpley predicted in the Obama deception. This has been a plan. You have all the documents. How do they think they're going to get away with this?
And I want to get one more point on the record, too, because remember, Odinga lost the election in 2007, but he became co-head of state. Remember, he became prime minister, and that was arranged by Obama, together with Kofi Annan and the UN. They intervened, and they got Odinga made to be prime minister. Odinga then went and engineered this new Kenyan constitution, which, again, I reported on. Obama supported this with money. We're using U.S. foreign aid money to support the constitution being passed in Kenya, and the new constitution included additional rights for Islam, including rights to be ruled under Sharia law. The whole constitutional revision in Kenya was an open door to Somali terrorists to pour in to the country, and it was engineered by Obama working with Odinga to re-engineer the Constitution of Kenya.
What is the master plan? Because you said a month ago here, and you showed the court documents and the articles out of Egypt, and now it's happening that they're running the whole operation, the whole takeover, the money laundering out of Kenya.
That's right. Obama's brother, his half-brother Malik, and this has now come out, verified by the Egyptian government. One of the heads of the Constitutional Court, that Malik Obama was running money for the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and also running money for a terrorist organization out of northern Sudan, another terrorist state. Now, I've also reported and can confirm that criminal charges have been filed in Kenya, in Egypt, under Malik Obama in Kenya. There's a subpoena out for him right now. The Egyptians criminal authorities are seeking Malik to bring him, the brother of Obama, to bring him to justice in Kenya for working with terrorists to manage money, the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and the Sudan, Northern Sudan terrorists, this Islamic Dawa organization that Malik also runs the money for. Now, people got to understand about Kenya, that Kenya has been predominantly a Christian country. I've been personally in the mall that's under attack in Kenya. I was there. It's a very beautiful open-air mall, and it's very vulnerable to a terrorist attack. The jihadis who are in Kenya today were invited in, open door, Obama Odinga, inviting them in from Somalia. They're known to be terrorists, and some of them are also recruited from the United States.
Doctor, let me stop you there because this is a selfish question. I'm breaking this. You're breaking this. Drudge has been breaking some of it.
Yes.
Some talk radio. Glenn Beck, to his credit, has been covering it some. We're all in this together now. That's when I've really figured this out. I mean, this is not about being writers or being on TV or radio. This is about survival for this country at this point. I'm beginning to think this is a double cross. They're going to turn everything over to radical Muslims. And I've got reporters, not just my crew, but we're talking reporters who are actually being threatened by Saudi Arabian intelligence in Europe and the Middle East. And now I've got reporters, stuff out of movies, where guys get around them and start saying, you know, video them saying, nice family. And I just thank God it didn't happen to me because I'd have got really mad. Have you been threatened? What is your security like? I mean, what do you think of our reports of Saudi Arabia threatens to end career of AP reporter? I mean, it looks, I'm getting sick of this.
I think it's accurate. I think what you're reporting is correct. I also think you're ahead of the curve and correct. We've reported it on WND as well, but the Saudis are behind the Islamic jihadists. The Saudis are funding and are supporting Al-Qaeda. These are wars that are largely over oil. They're over the price of oil. I agree with you there too, Alec.
Well, why are they so mad at us then?
Well, because, see, if Obama has carried the water for the Al-Qaeda, it started in Kenya before Obama was elected. When Obama and Odinga made this pact with the radical Islamists in Kenya that was going to allow Al-Qaeda to come in the door through Somalia into Kenya, a predominantly Christian country. And when the violence occurred in Kenya, they called it tribal violence, which Odinga was using to gain power without reporting the Islamic nature of terrorism of this violence.
So Obama is lowering the drawbridge from Egypt to Syria, to Kenya, to Libya, to Central Asia, to everywhere, to bring in Al-Qaeda. This is high treason. What do we do?
Well, and we also, and Alex, you connect the dots. You also reported, we've reported, this is what Ambassador Stevens was doing coming into Benghazi before he was ambassador. He was running guns to Al-Qaeda and Islamic jihadists backed by Saudi Arabia to destabilize Gaddafi. The same way Obama welcomed in Morsi, who was elected president after the so-called Arab Spring, which was nothing about destabilizing Northern Africa in favor of Al-Qaeda and Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabian forces are behind this because Saudi Arabia wants to control the price of oil. Saudi Arabia does not want any challenge on that, including, you know, a pipeline in the United States, which Obama is against, including a war on coal, which Obama is running. You got to understand the Saudis have managed to get the price of oil under Obama to over $100.
That's right. For those that don't know this, the Saudis are the biggest funders of shutting off the fact that we're coal rich. Well, of course, they don't want us having access to our own power. And I'm sick of being like, America is colonized by all these corrupt special interests. It's disgusting.
And they want to limit, the Saudis want to limit the amount of petroleum on the world market. They also want to eliminate the Shiites in Iran and would be happy to force us into a false flag war, CIA-supported war in Syria in order to go after Assad, who the United Nations has not said was the cause of the chemical weapons attack. That's
Sir, how big is it? How big is it that the military is listening to you and I and others, and that the Joint Chiefs went and told Obama no? How big is that?
I think it's huge. I think the military is listening to you, Alex. They're reading WND. The military is realizing that their lives have been put in harm's way again on lies, on, there were no weapons of mass destruction that we found with Saddam Hussein. Even going back to Gulf 91, fighting for Kuwait. Yes, Kuwait was very important to the Saudis, but Kuwait was not of national security significance. Kuwait was never going to attack the United States, or Saddam Hussein was never going to attack the United States with taking over Kuwait. But it was very important to the Saudis, and it proposed the need for false flags in wars which are going on today in Syria. And this is because, again, it would be the interest of the Saudis to see Assad gone, because Assad is an ally of Iran.
So of all these interests that want to bring down Syria and carve it up, is Saudi Arabia, they admit they're the ones paying for it.
They're paying for it. They're paying for it the same way they're paying for Al-Qaeda. They're paying for Al-Qaeda to destabilize Libya, Egypt, and now Kenya. They want Al-Qaeda to destabilize the entire world in Middle East and in Africa.
This is so unbelievable. This is so incredible. Dr. Jerome Corsi is our guest. We're going to come back, and I'm going to give him the floor in the final segment to ask him, how are things going for Obama? Where is this fight going? What does he expect next? I feel a false flag. I see that as their trick. We'll be right back.
The Alex Jones channel is the official page of the Info War. But don't miss what's happening on our other channels. The Info Warrior, with the week's best videos. Prison Planet Live, where Paul Joseph Watson gives his expert analysis. And keep up with the rest of the InfoWars crew on our other pages. All of our videos are available to repost for educational purposes. See the sidebar of the Alex Jones channel for the subscription links. And remember, you can always find our videos in the highest quality by becoming a member of PrisonPlanet.tv.
I've been clear since day one. I'm not on the side of Assad. I don't like dictatorships. But compared to what's being put in, he's obviously better, just like Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. And I was just talking to Dr. Corsi during the break about all the Saudi Arabian intelligence crawling all over D.C. They've threatened our reporters before, just filming in public. Come over and turn that off, and the cops follow their orders. And Saudi Arabia, again, is somebody you never hear about because they're right in the middle of it. And Dr. Jerome Corsi, I've got you in this segment and the next. Another guest is coming up. I appreciate your time. You've got the floor. Where is this going? How is Obama doing? How crippled is he? What do you expect to see come next? And how do we stop these people? How do we get back on a course to sanity?
Well, you got to remember, Alex, Obama's just their current agent in place. Obama's just doing the bidding for the Saudis. He's following his orders. Remember, connect the dots too in the Saudis. Remember that John Brennan, who heads our CIA, as far as I'm concerned, has quietly and secretly converted to Islam. I've believed that about Brennan for a long time. Remember, Brennan was the guy whose security firm helped sanitize Obama's passport records before the 2008 election. The two guys who broke into the passport office to seize Obama's passport records worked for Brennan, and they never got picked up. They never got apprehended. And Brennan advances himself to head of the CIA, from National Security Advisor in the White House. And Brennan has on the record many times as supporting jihadists, as supporting radical Islam. As far as I can tell, Brennan speaks fluent Arabic. He spent time excessively in the region. As far as I can tell, he's converted and might as well be considered to be heading our CIA as a pro-Wahhabist supporting, quietly, friend, ally, promoter, puppet of the Saudis. And the false flag in Syria has already occurred. It was the chemical attack. And I've published on WND the films of the rebels launching the attack of the chemicals, not the government. The UN has been over there twice now. The UN has never said or attributed responsibility to Assad. Yet you've got John Kerry out there promoting that Assad is guilty and pumping this false flag. It's the intent to send U.S. military into harm's way for a cause that is not in U.S. interest, but will support Al-Qaeda, jihadists, and other criminals that are funded by Saudi Arabia. That's the truth. That's how the dots connect.
Unfortunately, that's the only way they connect. Now,
and Americans, I think Americans are getting the point, Alex. I think you broadcast, we're working in WND diligently to get the information to the American people that we are Al-Qaeda. We've always been Al-Qaeda. Go back to the roots of the Bush family and the bin Laden family tied together. I mean, even Michael Moore in his film was documenting the bin Laden family connections with the Bush family connections.
Well, I've noticed this, Dr. Corsi. You can criticize anybody, but you go after Saudi Arabia, all hell breaks loose.
Go back to World War II when FDR met with the head of the Saudi family on a boat in the Mediterranean on his way to one of the early summits in World War II. And the deal was made that we were going to use our oil in World War II, and the Saudis were going to back us up. We had Saudi Arabia oil connections going back to pre-World War II era. And if you trace it far enough, you'll find British Petroleum and Winston Churchill right in the middle of it with Iranian oil going back, to the conversion of the British Navy from coal to oil. This, so much of our new world order is based upon the politics of oil to benefit those few families.
InfoWarsStore.com, a conscious and involved distributor of independently made products that support a healthy and aware community. Dive into cleaner waters with your own ProPure system and Pro 1D filter. Save 10% with the promo code WATER. We've handpicked a veritable treasure trove of the best non-GMO seed banks on the market. And our selection of films showcases a wealth of knowledge outdone only by our books. Check for combo packs to multiply your savings. Wear your colors proudly with one of these conversation starters. Now available in pink. Get prepared and fund the revolution at InfoWarsStore.com.
Dr. Jerome Corsi, best-selling author, worked at the highest levels of international finance and also for the State Department as a consultant, really an expert of experts on what's happening in the Middle East. And think of America now as a castle that doesn't have walls anymore. We're wide open to any special interest. The American people aren't organized except around football. And all these special interests are just running wild to the point of they have such disrespect for us. Obama signs an order 2 weeks ago to legalize what he's already doing, but I've read the code. It doesn't legalize it, to be able to arm Al-Qaeda. And you've got this plan to turn basically half the world over to Al-Qaeda while using the Al-Qaeda threat to take our liberties here domestically. Dr. Corsi, you were getting into the power of Saudi Arabia earlier, but in the 3-4 minutes we have left, you've got the floor here finishing up. How do we stop this? What are you worried about coming down the road? What do we do?
Well, I want people first to understand that it was Obama and Odinga, Obama's Luo cousin, who was, after violence and losing the election, prompted by agreements, discussions between Obama and Odinga got to be co-head of state and opened the door with the new constitution to Al-Qaeda coming into Kenya through Somalia. Kenya used to be a 90% Christian country. It was very stable. But between Obama and Odinga, Kenya's been destabilized. You now see massive Somalian terrorist Al-Qaeda-linked groups operative in Kenya. And this attack on the mall is a shocking indication of how powerful these Al-Qaeda groups have come. They're killing Christians in the mall who can't give answers as to who Muhammad's mother was and other questions with regards to Islam. This is the Saudis backing Al-Qaeda, joined by Obama backing Al-Qaeda. And in terms of false flags, the false flags have already occurred. This entire chemical attack ruse in Syria, which is a ploy to get our military to go along again and put their lives at risk for oil, for the interests of the Saudis to combat Iran. And, you know, Obama is in the process right now of funding Al-Qaeda throughout northern Africa, including from Libya, with the worst terrorists armed with weapons that we provided in part, being brought into Syria for these Al-Qaeda and other jihadists through Turkey. And this is what Ambassador Stevens was at the center. It's why Benghazi is still a lie. It's why Obama won't tell us what he was doing that night when we let these guys die in Benghazi without bringing military to try to save them. So people got to wake up and understand that the lies here have been going on since before World War II. And this new world order crowd that thinks that they can, you know, create international structures, international finance, and push everybody around on lies of Al-Qaeda, when in fact we are Al-Qaeda, the Saudis are Al-Qaeda, and people have got to get that point through their heads. That's very powerful stuff, Alex, but I can back it all up. I know. It's
all there publicly.
It's all there.
And it's so frustrating. And I have this sense of dread for our society on one hand, but the other hand, I see a big awakening. The power structure better not be worried about us. They better be worried about the military waking up.
Well, if the military wakes up and realizes how many men and women have been killed and maimed over, lies. I mean, the lie was to get into Iraq in the first place in 1991 over Kuwait, which is insignificant to U.S. national security interests. And George H.W. Bush proclaiming during that war in a speech to Congress, New World Order. That was the.
We're going to have to get you back up in the next few days. This is too important. Thank you, Dr. Corsi.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.
For Islam.
And Obama advised him, as your book broke down with the emails, on how to stage riots so they'd give him a prime ministership instead of the presidency when he lost. So bottom line, I should have quantified this. This is basically Obama behind jihadis connected to this attack. This is unbelievable.
And it was Obama's plan that when Odinga lost the presidential election at the end of 2007, these riots, which were, against the majority tribe and
Dr. Jerome Corsi, best-selling author, joins us. We're going to have him back up for a full hour soon on his new book that's already becoming a bestseller, Who Really Killed Kennedy. A very powerful book. I've already read half of it, just got it last week. Doc, you heard me go over those points, and then I realized other than us and
we've got tribal relations in Kenya that are very important. The tribal kinsman, Odinga, signed an agreement with the Muslims in Kenya, the National Muslim Leaders Forum, NAMLEF, in 2007, that if Odinga, who was then running for president, were supported by the Muslims, when Odinga got in, he would do everything he could, including revising the Constitution, to favor
wars. You at WorldNet Daily and others, I know, have been the ones breaking this, and as fantastical as it appears, is it as bad as it looks to me, sir?
I think you're correct, Alex. I think you're right on. I mean, let's just dissect a little bit of this Kenya violence. First of all, you got to understand that the Somalis, remember the Somalis are the warlord, kind of unlawful, unruled country that we invaded when the Black Hawk down during the Clinton. That's Somalia. Somalia has been having Muslim terrorists pour into Kenya since Obama took office. I mean, I reported going back into 2007 when Obama was running for office, you remember that Odinga, who is the tribal clansman, and of course,